This episode may contain graphic language and descriptions, nicotine use, and may not be suitable for younger audiences. Opinions expressed in this episode are of the minds and experiences of the participants and do not represent those of any other people, organizations, groups, or recovery-based fellowships that may be mentioned. We speak only for ourselves.
God bless you. We love you, and we hope you hear something that helps you. Thanks for listening. The annoying part is like when I'm sick, like my nicotine intake like ceases to exist.
And then do you feel like shit from that?
Probably, but I just can't intake anything into my throat. No diddy when I'm sick. I just can't, man. It fucking sucks.
Well, thanks for getting after it, dude. Sick and all.
Thanks for coming on short notice, dude.
Sure, man.
We were working out some kinks and stuff. Super Bowl weekend.
I see you picked up a freshie hat. You know, had to be ready.
I did. Little NFC John.
2 scores, you're saying? Minimum. I thought I heard you say 2 scores minimum.
I said by at least 10.
At least 10.
It's going to be 2 possessions, for sure.
You're not thinking a field goal game, eh?
No.
Wow.
No.
That's bold.
I'm not.
That's bold. But you know what, dude? Like, all the Philly, you know, back and forth, hate our guys, talk shit, all of it. I love just like I'm not fucking buying into it. We are going to stomp this team.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. I'm not.
I'm tired of feeling conservative about it, dude. Maybe I'm with you.
Yeah,
Maybe
I'm just tired of feeling cautious. Because, like, cautious is like, I feel like when...
All righty then. We see you.
Shit, honey. Hold on, dude. All right. Oh, I'll just have to cut that out. I feel like the caution in Philly fans is just to try to save them from being hurt.
100%.
And I'm just like, I'm always ready to be hurt again when it comes to sports, man. Always ready to be hurt again.
It's got to be what it is, dude, because we get our hearts broken constantly. I mean, we got one. We got one, but recently. But yeah, dude, it's constant heartbreak. Like, I've been doing that shit. You're right. I've been doing that. I've been trying to minimize my pain by like letting go. Fuck that.
Yeah. But even besides that, man, it's just like, I don't know, man. I really think the only person that can beat us is their defensive coordinator. I really think that's their condition to win. I know Pat Mahomes, whatever, but we have the number 1 defense. I'm just not afraid of him now.
They will have Chris Jones moving around, bro. That guy.
That's fine.
I don't think he's quite Jalen Carter, but he is. I don't even know if I should say that, man. He's close. He's very close.
That's fine. I'm not worried about it.
How about all the people last year who were like, Jalen Hurts has no vision. He can't throw a pass when his first read doesn't work out. We paid him too quick. We shouldn't have done it. Like all that bullshit just from one bad season.
I think he's been hindered by a lot of being told to play a certain way that's not his style of play. Like there was like that straight jacket comment. Did you hear about that?
Nah.
He said like in the Washington game, like coach just like took the straight jacket off of me, and I really think like for a while, he's just been told to play a certain way and to not really have a lot of autonomy, I guess.
And that's got to come from Sirianni then, right?
I think partially, yeah. I don't think Sirianni's like completely hands off of the offense. I would think it's the most hands-off he's been since he's been here, for sure, which I think is why it's working so well.
What do you think, like, Jalen Hurts' best style of play is? Like, what do you think if he had free reign? Because, like, doesn't Mahomes have almost free reign some of the time? Like, I know probably. Andy Reid calls the plays, but I think Mahomes is like, picking a lot of the plays.
Well, like, so the critiques that you were talking about that you hear a lot at first, like I do agree with one of them, and that's that Jalen Hurts is bad at progressions. He just is. Like when his first read doesn't work out, he really, really rarely seems to make another throw. And for whatever reason. I mean, last game he seemed better, but most of the time, man, especially this year. And I think it's just because of, but it's also unfair to say because turnovers have obviously been a focus for like both sides of the ball for us. So like, I don't know, like, is it really him or is it him just being overly cautious about turnovers? I don't really know.
I think I thought about that too. And I think part of it is like, I think Jalen Hurts' scramble ability is underrated. Mm-hmm. Like I do think that people don't give him enough credit for like, you know, first read doesn't work out. He rolls out or leaves the pocket, right? He makes some fucking phenomenal throws that are on the money, but here's the issue that I notice: he's not as quick on his feet. Like he's still, I think he's still fast. Yeah. Like they do the designed runs, like he gets going, but he's not as quick out of the pocket as he was his first and second years. And like I don't know if just, you know, natural wear and tear is part of that, getting hit, little.
I think it's been injuries. Yeah. I think it's just been injury.
Because he hasn't been taken out, but he's definitely not 100%.
It's like even last game, he didn't look right when he was running because of that bruised knee or whatever it was. But like he still got it done, as awkward as it looked.
Dude, the hard thing to judge about it too, man, is like you see these plays where quarterbacks or players are down on the ground, like writhing in pain. But then they're still playing. And you're like
Mahomes in the last Super Bowl we played him in, dude.
It didn't just go away. Like what's going on there? Yeah. Like something really fucking hurt you.
Well, now they're getting shot up with a bunch of shit, like in the blue tent or in the locker room, to just basically like you're just not going to feel the pain. Mm-hmm.
That has to be what happened last time we played them, dude. Because
absolutely.
We go into what was it? We go into the locker room up 10, confident as shit. Don't even know if Mahomes is playing, and then Jonathan Gannon just totally shits his pants and just fucks the whole thing up.
Yeah. No, whatever,
Vic
dude.
Fangio is not going to do that.
No.
And if he does that layback, safe offense bullshit, dude, I might break the new TV.
But, like, I wouldn't be surprised if he does, though, because, like, I really think, like, that, like, little safe offense thing is like, what got the Commanders to have like an 18 play drive for like 8.5 minutes, like the first drive of the quarter, right? Or the first drive of the game, last game. And then they kick a field goal. And then we take it 62 yards to the house on the very next play after the kickoff. Like
they got Barkley.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I mean, I've been like really high on the fact that James Cook did what he did to them in the championship game. But like thinking more about it, I kind of think that was on purpose because I don't think they're worried about James Cook. Like I think they're worried about Josh Allen. So like I don't know what them selling out against the run like actually looks like. I still think that Saquon's just better.
His first move in those certain seams, those certain gaps, man, it's unstoppable.
I think we see a good trick player too. Like there's those single or double jet sweeps that were going to like Devontae and Dallas Goedert last game. And dude, the best play that I think that they could probably call in like a weird spot would be a flea flicker. I think it would be an absolute fucking home run. Like if you're going to try to sell out against the run and stack the box or whatever, like instead of doing like an RPO, just do a flea flicker.
To Devontae Smith, god damn it.
Yeah.
Devontae Smith needs to have a good game, man.
I think he will.
Like I love when AJ Brown's hot. Like he delivered last week. He was awesome, but like you notice how they don't tend to get them both going really well. Like I would love for Devontae Smith to have a big game. You notice how hard it is to take that skinny man down?
He's weird, man.
Dude, Lauren pointed this out to me. Like
they call him Skinny Batman for a reason.
Dude, 2 or 3 games, he catches the ball in space, he's going down. There's defenders all over him, but he just won't go down.
Yeah,
and I'm like, dude, skinny Batman's got some fucking strength, you know?
What, dude? God, I think Ollie just wishes he could talk so he could contribute his 2 cents about the Eagles games we've been forcing him to watch.
But yeah, man, I'm confident. I just hope we don't do too much dumb shit. Like Jalen Carter's going to get emotional. He's going to throw some people around. Might slap somebody in the face.
I'll be worried about that if we're down like a touchdown at any point and it feels like we're kind of getting controlled a little bit, then I'll be worried about that. But if like they try to get him riled up when we're ahead, he'll flop worse than Mahomes does and try to get a call. Like he can be smart when he feels more positive about the state of the game, I feel like.
Now, do you foresee any changes? They'll be subtle. Do you foresee any changes from the refs with all the heat they've been under?
Dude, I don't know. I feel like they might want to prove something, but at the same time, like I mean, if I was them, excuse me, and there's really nothing going on, I just don't change anything. You know what I mean? But like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, if I was them, I'd probably push the argument of like, okay, you all got stats of how many plays the Chiefs benefit from. Well, guess what? They get in better positions than all the rest of you do.
Here is the thing, though. Like, we don't get a lot of defensive penalties. We do not get a lot of defensive penalties. Like, no personal foul on quarterbacks, really. Barely ever pass interference. Like, Slay and DeJean and Mitchell have been so good at timing their contact to the receiver to break up a pass. It's like right on the fringe. It's almost like when you see Lane Johnson like jump back from the line of scrimmage and you're like, how's that not a false start?
Yep.
But really, he's just like, as soon as the guy's mouth opens to start the fucking play, as soon as Hurts opens his mouth to hike the ball, he's just already stepping back and he's just that good.
Yep.
Like, that's how our receiver coverage is like.
Well, yeah, and dude, back to like the PIs, like the craziest thing about PIs is the littlest things that you do. It's like taking a charge in the NBA, right? Mm-hmm. Like PIs in the NFL, if you turn your head back and see the ball, totally different play right there. Mm-hmm. If you're not looking back and you make contact, you're fucked. You're getting called every time. Mm-hmm. But if it's on the cusp, but you turned around and you know where that ball is, you got a chance at not getting a penalty.
It could also be like if they see your hand on the receiver's back like this, they won't call it. But if they see your hand on the receiver's back and you close your fist, they're going to call it.
Yep.
Even if there's no like breaking the stride or anything.
Yep. Grab impeded the receiver's ability to catch the ball.
I think a ghost just touched me. I felt something on my shoulder, bro. I'm not even tripping. I know I'm not.
Dude, I'm 40 years old and I've never had an encounter. I've talked to tons of people that have.
I feel like I've been around ghosts before, but just because like some shit happened that I couldn't really explain in certain spaces, and I just chalked it up to a ghost because I thought it would be cool to just like vibe with a dead dude. So like when I think there's a ghost, I'm just like, there's a human element to them. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. What's up, dude? You just hanging out? Like, I don't want to bother you. Like, we can
coexist.
Yeah, there's a symbiosis here that like we can tap into. Like,
but if you're here, you got to let me know you're here.
Yeah, like, you gotta.
Don't fuck with me.
Yeah, don't
much.
mess around with me, man. And like, I won't fuck your shit up. Just be cool. Like, we can be cool. Just like roommates. Like,
yes,
you hang out, I hang out, we're cool. Like, I don't know if there's people in my attic or not. I think there is. When I go up there, I talk like there is. It might make me a little crazy, but I'm just like, yo, what's up, guys? What's going on?
Just trying to air it out and just prep yourself. Yeah. See, I have too active of an imagination.
It's like a just in case thing. When people pray just in case there's a God, like I do that just in case ghosts are real.
Yep. Yeah, temper your expectations just in case the Eagles lose. Yeah, but dude, my imagination is too active. Like to this day, at almost 40 years old, if it is dark in a room and I'm going upstairs, I'm sure someone's behind me. It's actually a legit phobia. You can look it up. I have to run because I just, in my mind, no matter what, there is a hand that is about to grab me.
Yeah, it's like the neurons in your stomach are anticipating a grab that you know is about to happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, which is why it would be so hard to like be in the NFL where there is literally someone this far behind you, dude. Like it is. It's like a nerve. Just like my imagination's like, it's gonna happen, run. Run. Even though you're 40, run.
I don't know, dude. You might get really quick at that point, though. As soon as you feel somebody grabbing you out there. Yeah. This is just like the stairs at home. Yeah, I feel great. I feel great about the game, dude. I really think it's going to be like, I mean, I think Saquon's going to do his thing. I think a lot of it's going to be like Devontae and Dallas Goedert.
Yeah,
I really love Dallas.
Well, dude,
Goedert, man.
So I've been trying to think this year as a Saquon Barkley fantasy owner, a guy who watches a shitload of football. Like, what is it? Like, what separates him so much? Right? He has like size dimensions that a lot of other people do, and it just is that first step, man. Like his first step with getting one block or one shift, he is fucking gone like nobody else in the league. So like I kind of look at it like they're going to scheme in a way that stops Saquon, but you're not going to stop Saquon. Like he's going to have some big runs. I don't know if he'll be able to take him to the house. I don't know what Spags will draw up, but one. Like, dude, his first step is just absolutely like laser quick. You know, I just don't think anybody else in the league really has that at the same level.
The thing with the trouble for Spags is like he has to guess, because like, and the big key for us is staying out of like third and long situations, like third and like 7 and up, maybe like anything under that, like we'll run it on third down because we're just gonna get it.
Well, because if we get to 4th and 1, it doesn't matter if we're at our own 20, we're sneaking. And as long as Dickerson or Juergens are healthy, we're getting it. When they weren't healthy against the Commanders, they stopped us twice.
And I think
they're both. Are they both healthy? One of them's healthy.
I think so.
Dickerson's healthy.
Yeah, I think they were both limited participants in the last practice I saw. I think.
Yeah. As of Wednesday, Jalen Carter had an illness. So
I think Nolan Smith does too. I mean, they're probably going to play.
He's the guy that blitzes on the outside, right?
Yeah.
And comes up behind people.
Yeah,
and he does it every game, dude. I love it.
He's been killing it. Even Oren Burks, that's been filling in for Nakobe Dean, has been doing really well.
Who's the guy that was our weakest link, but still not that weak in the secondary that they were targeting? Who's the guy that was struggling around the middle of the season? I think he might be a rookie.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'll ponder it around in my mind. There's one.
It would
guy,
have had to have been like a sub or something.
Yeah, he's like a rookie guy. I don't know. He was getting exploited a little bit, but even he tightened up. It's definitely not DeJean Mitchell or Slay.
Slay's ancient.
Yeah. Who was that guy?
I don't know.
Yeah,
they throw Maddox back there sometimes, but I don't think it's him, is it?
No, not CJ. There's one other guy I can't think of.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah. But
oh shit.
So you want to get into some like heavy duty like middle steps 12-step shit?
Yeah, dude. I'm gonna follow your lead, honestly.
Okay.
Because like I'm
out of commission.
I haven't been able to think straight since I woke up.
Yeah, so looking back on like this was probably 5 or 6 episodes ago. Like we did a little like steps 4 and 5. We hit on like kind of some of the basics. We might have gone further into this than I remember, but like just kind of that house cleaning part of the process, right? Like starting to look inside, starting to figure out what the problems are, starting to use the program to like begin to course correct. I don't know. I just wanted to get more of like I know we've talked about it bits and pieces a ton, but like your take, your experience with it early on, what you teach other guys, like we'll see where it goes.
Teach other guys what?
Like what you teach other guys as they're getting into those middle steps.
Like 6 and 7?
Like we'll go 4 through 7, dude.
4 through 7.
Yeah,
okay.
house
I wasn't
cleaning.
trying to make a gay joke. I was actually asking like what the fuck you
It's
were
how
talking
I
about.
took it, and it was.
I know that's how you fucking took it, because that's normally how I would say it. No offense to the gays, we love you guys.
So like start at the beginning with me, like step 4, kind of how it was presented to you, sort of how you let it all off, and like we'll go from there.
So 4 was presented to me the same way that it was presented to everybody, and that it was talked about in all the meetings, written up on those scrolls that you see at the front of like an AA meeting, glanced over like pretty simply in the big book, but like study wise would be made into a monster, even though the text was saying that it was pretty fucking cut and dry and not a big deal. So I very much made it out to be I'm like a recovered, what would you say? Like a recovered 4-step fear-er and afraider of the 4th step.
So you got
What would I say?
You got the spook. The meetings gave you the spook.
I have recovered from being afraid of the 4th step. I tell you, dude, I feel real fucking weird. I waited for a long time. Like I waited like a number of months before I started it, and like I absolutely felt like spiritual, like spiritual ramifications from that. Ended up like really like, I guess you could only say like feeling pretty dry. Like my mood's starting to swing a little bit more. I started to go back to old methods of like coping and old habits of isolating, and thereby letting other like very big defective parts of my character flourish a lot more.
So how long we talking? Like from the second that you really started going after the steps, right? Or let's say this: you're in the South Philly recovery house.
Yeah.
You're getting after all the meetings that are a stone throw away.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry. Throw a rock.
Whatever.
Any direction. Like how long would you say you waited to get into it, to get writing and all that?
Oh fuck, man. Probably like at least 6 months.
6 months.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
I waited a long time. It could have been double. It could have been a whole year. Like I don't really remember, but it was a long time. At least it felt like a long time to me. That's why I don't knock anybody for like getting kind of frozen in place when like that task that is made out to be that daunting is like before you. Because like that's exactly what I experienced. I just try to make it so like people don't do that.
Yep.
That's why like when we were in the kitchen with the one guy that you were talking to that you work with, I also didn't know that you were sponsoring him when I said this, and you were right there. But like when he was talking about like having like X amount of pages done on his 4th step, and like he needs to start like another composition book or something, and I'm just like, dude, like, has anyone told you to just stop fucking writing and just talk about it?
Yep.
Like
Done.
yeah,
Done.
dude. Like, and he just kind of looked at me. I'm just like, bro, just stop writing. Just stop it. Like I understand there's all these things that you feel like you need to get free from now, but if you are like,
We both like shot over. Like that's not a good sound.
yeah,
What's that?
that's a plastic sound. What is it? Like a crinkly thing?
Yeah, some
crinkly
kind of toy.
Yeah,
Yep.
she's all right. If you're to the point where you're thinking about like, oh damn, there was that one day at Wawa I didn't hold the door open for that one guy. You know what I mean? Stop. Stop fucking writing, dude.
Yep.
Sure, it would have been cool if you held the door open for my man. You know what I mean? But nobody's saying that you're like the spawn of Satan because you didn't hold the door open for Billy Bob at fucking 5:43 in the morning at the Wawa. Like nobody cares. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And like you can change that now, and nobody needs to talk to you about that. Just start holding the door for people. We don't need 3 other columns about it.
Yeah, it's almost like as we like break this down a little bit, like what and I love that you told him that as I was standing there pouring a very small cup of coffee.
Now that I know that you were a sponsor.
Yeah,
as soon
dude.
as I figured that out, I was like, oh shit.
I
love that.
I love it because like I think sometimes as people overcomplicate certain steps, which everybody does, like you said, they get chalked up and they get very they get very out of context as you hear people talk about them, right? I sometimes wonder if like the spirit of the step is in the right direction. And like I think in the big book, Bill Wilson does a good job over and over and over again of just trying to say like, yo, this is a beginning. Like, this is a rough start. We're not trying to like fine tune our character perfectly overnight. That we're going to look at some, what is the word he uses? We're going to look at it's right at the end of chapter 5, grosser handicaps.
Okay.
Yeah, so he basically is saying like we're not going to look at who we didn't hold the door for. We're going to look at what's really blocking us, and we're going to try to go there.
Yeah.
And
we're going to look at why I want to cheat on my fucking wife every day. Like, that's different.
Yeah, like what occupies so much of my emotional attention, right? Like where I'm just completely obviously going through into left field.
Right, exactly.
But dude, I love hearing your experience with like that early timing, because
it was rough.
I actually went the complete opposite route.
Okay.
But it was only circumstances that made that the case. So I get out of rehab, introduced to the big book a little bit, committed to go, the direction I'm going to go, but not knowing what the fuck I'm doing. I get out of rehab and I instantly go to jail. I think 2 days later I turn myself in. And I don't really know what I can bring into jail. So I bring a big book, and they call it a self-help book, which is hilarious, right? It's really a self-abandonment book, according to our friend Chris B. But like, they call it a self-help book. I got my book in hand. Here I am, 2 months by myself with nothing but a big book. Nice. Now I got my hands on some James Patterson as the weeks rolled by.
Sweet.
Help break it up, but nice. It's me, a cell, a big book, and a deck of cards that I sit on the floor and play solitaire with. Very, very sad to play solitaire by yourself on a concrete floor. But yeah, dude, like I didn't have that pre-experience. This is what it's going to be like. This is what's really hard. This is how long it took me. Here's what you need to be careful of. Here's what you should do. Here's what you shouldn't do. I didn't have literally any of that. Which I'm very grateful for. And again, it's just totally circumstantial.
Yeah, for sure.
And I get out of rehab, and I have we talked about this on a previous episode. I have my nice couple hour 1 to 3 meeting with my sponsor. We're reading some passages, we're talking, we're sharing stories. We kind of break down the main concepts of 1, 2, and 3. And I literally just got writing right away. And the meetings I was going to at the time were not super fellowship-y meetings. It was not like, young, old, here's what I did, here's a topic group. It was Tuesday nights, big book study, Wednesday, the home group, in the back, 1, 2, and 3 over and over again. Thursday night, big book. That was the core of my meetings at the time. So it's just crazy how, like, we both got to experience these middle steps, but timing wise from completely different angles.
Yeah. And it also, helped, but didn't help that I ended up in a lot of like accepting people for who they are styles of fellowship, which like sounds good like up front, but the way that I mean is like accepting people even if they're being stagnant in their work. And like if a newcomer comes to you and says like, oh, I would do this, but it's hard, they would say, oh, that's okay, when that's not what I needed. Which is why my first sponsor was so great, because she had told me to do it, and then just, if I wasn't texting her, she wasn't really texting me, unless like every like couple months when she would remember like, oh shit, like I told this dumb little ginger dude to write his fucking 4-step. Like maybe I should see what's up with him. And yeah.
She gave you the if you want action to take, no strings attached.
Yeah. Yeah. She just gave me enough room to hang myself with, which I don't know if she did that consciously, but like I think that that's the right way to do it.
Yep. Yeah, sometimes I think when people get you got to go to this many meetings a week and you have to pick a home group and you have to be calling 3 alcoholics or addicts a day and you're also going to start these steps and it's too much. Like I like that. Yeah, like I'm glad you're doing whatever you're doing. Mm-hmm. Here is the direction of like this moment. Like get after it. Give me a call.
Yeah.
Done. I love that. I try to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm. And it was like, so like when I first finally did get to writing, the one thing that motivated me, and I usually say this as a part of my story, unless I spend too much time like in the fucking problem, which I'm known to do from time to time. I actually said it. I had to speak at Keystone last night for Mike. It was really interesting. Went about as well as you would think. Crowd looked about what you would think the crowd was, but when it came to like, I have this, I'm very prone to these moments of like change or die moments. Like in my head, I kind of come to them and I think about like my recent struggles, how every time I think about my recent struggles and are faced with those recent struggles, I do a ping pong back and forth on whether to do something productive about them or not when I know what the answer is. Excuse me. And a lot of times I'll just choose to not do that. And I know in the back of my mind, like at some point I'm not going to be able to like procrastinate dealing with the problem forever. And then when that moment comes, I'm faced with the decision, and like consciously I can feel it like in like a timeline of my life. I would draw a bullet point like on this moment and say like, this is when he was faced with whatever. It was like the last call and he had to make a fucking choice. Like that happens to me with almost everything that I struggle with. So when it came with the 4th step and like every day I'm thinking about it, you could just go home and write. No, like just a whole bunch of that. Which also meant like my meetings would decline, everything like that. So like I say all that to say, like one time I was sitting in my room in the recovery house and I just kind of thought to myself, like, what if, well, I know I'm kind of like foreplaying here to say something, but I'm going to interject on myself real quick because we haven't really even explained like what the big 4th step is,
get there.
Right? Like it's like, so like we're writing down a whole list of resentments, fears, harms we've done to others. And if your sponsor does this, like a whole separate list for like sex misconducts, which is what I did. My sex misconduct list was longer than probably my fears and harms done to others. And then all of that is like assigned to a certain part of character that is affected by the resentment and the fear, all of that shit, why you were doing this, what should you have done instead, all of that kind of stuff. And you go by each thing, each person, each thing, whatever is in like the cobwebs of your mind that you swore you would never talk to anybody about or deal with. Like it all just comes out onto paper, trying to consciously not leave anything behind. If you forget something and you think of it later, just write it down later. So I sat on the edge of my bed and I thought, can I live from this moment on sober and happy and free and able to deal with life, carrying around all of these things in my mind every single waking second up until the day that I maybe die of old age, like in my 70s or something. And thinking about that scared me a lot. Like just having all those monkeys on my back, even if it was just one thing that I just never talked about or dealt with, even tried to deal with. Just try to fucking deal with this shit for once. And it was really like zoomed in, it was really like dude, it's just fucking time we did something about all of this shit. That was it. It was really like a fed up moment almost.
It literally sounds like a second jumping off point. Like, you know how...
Oh, I would absolutely call it that.
You know how in the rooms, a lot of times you hear this talk of a jumping off point. Like, for anybody that hasn't heard that, it's described this way a lot. I can't drink or get high anymore, but I also can't not. It's too hard. It's too painful. It's too whatever. So I'm at a place where I'm fucked either way, but I have to pick one decision. There's no option C. It kind of sounds like that with like your work in the program.
Yeah, for sure it was.
You know.
And then I just got to writing. Asked a lot of questions, which was okay. I was afraid that I couldn't ask questions, but of course I can. I can always ask questions about anything. And I would have spurts of stopping for a little bit. And for whatever reason, I felt the need to try to be a perfectionist with the whole thing, even though there had been multiple times in like active addiction where I chose to like not shower for 3 weeks and just focus on hurting my family so I could put poison in my body. But for whatever reason, like I wanted to do this written thing with a pencil perfectly. And and thought that I was going to attain that, right? Which was a very unrealistic expectation, and honestly, I'm thankful I didn't hit it, because that means that like I can continue to experience progress and growth anyway. So yeah, took a long time to write it, and all I wrote down were things that came to mind. Advice that was given to me was, if you find yourself trying to consciously think of things to write, and the natural flow of your mind is no longer giving you answers, you have to try to ransack your mind to think of something to write down. Stop writing, move on. If you think of something later, call me. We'll just fucking talk about it. You don't need to empty out everything that you have in that recycling bin right now. Like, more will come later as you're sober and your mind starts to clear up, which is, this all was told to me. So just stop writing, because if you continue to, and you stay stagnant on all this stuff, it's literally like cutting open your neck and just like not getting stitches. It's like you're spewing all of this shit out into your conscious to affect you on your daily in your daily life, and you're not going to treat it. You're just going on, and now not only are you potentially like untreated alcoholism, whatever people would call it, but now you have all of this newfound guilt, shame, remorse, and probably humility that you're not really too adept at dealing with in this particular area, and all of that stuff. And like, if you thought it was weird before, after you write down all of that shit and you don't talk about it, like, it gets way more weird.
Yeah, so like, to combine a couple things you just said, dude, because I love that you say that. And like, so you said a couple minutes ago, like, you were in an environment and you adopt the mentality yourself of, I'm not going to judge people where they're at, dude. Like, if it takes long to write, fair. If it takes short to write, fair. Like, it is what it is, right? And I try to adopt that same mentality, but that last thing you just said about like the flow of consciousness, it's really, really interesting to me, because my experience with fourth step writing was finished in one day, in one sitting.
Okay.
And the reason for that was because, and I speak and share about this a lot, right? When I tell my story, I don't know how it really worked out this way. I don't know if it was my sponsor's way that he gave these directions, like the just the way he was, or what, but I was not given an opportunity my first month of recovery to overcomplicate anything. And I was not in a environment where I was hearing all these, I did this and you shouldn't do that.
Oh,
and
it was so much.
Like, I wasn't exposed to any of it, man. So I adopted this I adopted this preference of mine that I do not really share with the guys I work with because it's not appropriate. It's my experience, but here is my personal take on it. The fourth step should be done in one day. Any more than one day is not beneficial for most people.
Okay.
But that's like a very controversial opinion because 99.9% of the population would probably not subscribe to that.
Yeah.
And the reason I feel that way is because of what you just said. Like, if I let my consciousness get into a flow of write what is necessary, allow my head to literally tell me what needs to go on the paper, there's almost no thinking required to do that in the right mindset, in the right moment.
Yeah.
And I feel like every day that I give myself to go back and think and complicate and wait and start again is counterproductive to the exercise. That's kind of my personal opinion. And like, it's just crazy, man, because I had that experience not knowing any different. Right. I just wasn't exposed to any other ways of doing it yet because I was early on. And then I started as time went by in recovery. Right. I started listening to how other people in earlier walks of AA did it. You know, you were doing it in one sitting, right? Back to the basics.
Doing
what
a
did
fucking
they do?
detox in the hospital.
Exactly.
Or the fucking psych ward.
Exactly. So like, you know, I just wanted to throw that out there because naturally I like to air some of my personal opinions that I don't say in our circles, man.
That's why you're here, man.
Yeah, and
that's why you're here.
But it's crazy because I think the main point though is like there is no need to think about what your mind wants to put on that paper. Now, I'm not going to say that it doesn't work differently in terms of like people's ability to get it from here onto the paper.
Right.
But I just, dude, I think it's so important that like that process of looking and then beginning in step 5 to go over be very quick.
Yeah.
That's my preference. That's my thought. But like we're saying here, it doesn't go down that way hardly ever.
No. And like personal opinion and being very like Jeremy about this topic is like, dude, I'll hear some like circuit speakers who I respect pretty highly because of how they talk. See, like I have a fourth step over 300 pages long. And I'm like, that sounds like a lot of like wasted fucking time. Like,
Yep.
That's just like, okay, good for you. Like, so what, dude? like there's no way you're more free than anybody else by any measurable amount. Like it's just not fucking necessary. I always saw it as like a weird flex when people try to say the length of their 4 step. And again, I'm just being like a kind of a prick right now. And
good.
Because I'm sick and I feel like it.
Fourplay's over. Fucking bring it, dude. I love it.
Yeah, episode 13 or whatever the fuck it is. Yeah, I'll start being an asshole. But like, I'm just like, bro, like, can we stop? Can we stop with this whole like,
I was sicker than you.
Oh yeah, dude. And like all of these ego tricks with like the 4th step. It's like, and the real ego trick is like what you're playing on yourself because you don't really realize like how much you're enjoying this exercise that's centered around you, right? And like that's another thing that I realized was like I was so captivated within myself. That's probably the most like self-centered I've been in my sobriety really is when I was taking forever to do a fucking 4th step. And like it was pretty easy to see like everywhere. That's just my experience. But like,
dude, I agree though, man. Like some thoughts that I've had as we just air all this shit out, right? Right. Is I've listened to speakers that say like, I had hundreds of names of harms on my list. And my first thought was, look me in my face and lie to me and tell me that you have made amends to all those people or even tried to. Yeah. You didn't.
Yeah.
Right. Like you may have very well hurt 200, 300 people.
If they got like 39 years, they might have.
They might have. Yeah. I'm not trying to say that they wouldn't, but like, I agree with you, man. Like it sometimes becomes like a I'm extra special sick and therefore I needed to do this and this. And you know what happens to a newcomer that hears that, who is a little bit locked in self at the moment? A standard gets developed that a fourth step should be this kind
now
of
there's a
thing.
goal almost. Yeah.
And dude, I just, again, like, I'm so grateful that I was not exposed to any of that shit.
Yeah, man. And like, for anybody that like, well, doesn't like the opinions, that's fine. But I know that I have mine because like because of this whole overcomplication and this, there's a present progressive word here to use. I just can't think of it. This monster that is made out of the fourth step, causes a lot of people to go back out. And like, while that is on them, because I still went about it, plenty of people still go about it, even with the monster that's made out of the thing, right? So that is on them. But you can't say that if it was made a little bit more like palatable, that more people wouldn't stay and get through it. Like, I just don't think that that would be a decent argument. And when I say like the fourth step will take people out, I'm not saying like they don't want to write and abide by the little Jesus people, and they don't want to come to our little club anymore, and they just want to go do other stuff. Like, I mean, they want to go out, drink, get high, and then we never see them again because they got a fucking tombstone. Like, that's what that is. And like, to wrap up the rant, I guess for me on my part is, bro, if you have to think about something so much to write down, it's not affecting you that much. And if you think about it later, you deal with it then.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, like, there's growth to be had. There's freedom to be experienced. Like, there's insight and wisdom and things that you can learn about yourself to make your life better in the here and now. Like, let's get going. Like, come on. And like, I've thought about stuff later. I've thought about harms later. I don't even fucking write it. I just reach out to the person. Like, maybe I'll talk to somebody about it. I usually don't, because I know what's up with it, just because I know how the program works. And I'm very good at just kind of like working with God and prayer, meditation and stuff. And like, I just know the right thing to do. But you don't have to do it now. You don't need to think about it now. You don't need Kurt Cobain's 50 fucking composition books that he wrote throughout his life. Like, you don't need to, your fourth step doesn't need to look like anybody else's. I think the example in the book has like 5 names on it. Like, granted, it was an example, but like, I mean, come on, man.
Dude, he tries to tell us over and over again, grosser handicaps. You've begun to see some of the ways that self blocks you off. Like, he infers it in his writing over and over and over again, that to me, man, exactly what you're saying is true, with no disrespect to anybody else's experience.
No, not
right?
at all.
But it's just like I think it's crazy. So I like to take this kind of thing we're breaking down and think of an example, right? I go there.
Big example guy. I love it.
Yeah. So let's say that I go and get a golf lesson. Now, golf is a fucking hard game, dude. It is a maddening game. It's a blessing and an absolute curse and cancer at the same time.
No, unless you're me, but yeah.
Like, I am jealous of people who don't fuck with the game, because sometimes I wish I never did, right? I think about it all day long,
Yeah,
dude.
but your network possibilities are just skyrocketed compared to mine.
Yes.
Although we'll see what the Freemasons have to say about it.
That's right. That's right. So if I go get a golf lesson, there are probably, we'll say 4 to 6 areas that he or she may point out to me. Mm-hmm. Right. And let's say that they focus most on 2 of them. Mm-hmm. I now have 2 main things that are in my consciousness that, if I were so brave to try to correct, might change my game. Awesome. Fucking awesome. Let's say that person says, your grip sucks, your backswing is wrong, your weight distribution is off, you don't look very athletic, like over and over and over again, what's going to happen? The road ahead is now completely unobtainable. I've now basically taken my faulty golf swing and turned it almost into like a moral failing, if you will. That to me is exactly what happens to people in step 4 who overcomplicate. If you're going to open up Pandora's box in the right spirit and you just keep writing and forcing and thinking and writing and forcing and thinking, you're not a guy with or girl with grosser handicaps anymore. You're now a moral failure. That's the way a lot of people's mind is going to perceive it. And like, dude, a lot of them aren't coming back. They're not going to push forward with the process. That's not my theory as much as lived experience. I've seen that literally dozens of times.
Yeah, so have I.
You know, and it's like, I just, to your point, in a long-winded way, I don't think that was ever the spirit of the exercise.
No.
The spirit of the exercise was like, got some problems, big ones, good, put them on paper. Now we're going to start developing simple ass mental and spiritual systems to start moving you on the other side, like now.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, like good luck saying that out there is funny, dude. But I love it. I love it. Like, before we get kind of more into, like, we'll say 5, 6, and 7, even though it doesn't have to be calculated.
Yeah.
I'll just say, like, it's awesome how you and I had like such a different experience, but still got to kind of see like the lived experience of that step.
Yeah, because now being on the other side of the experience multiple times now, like it was just like, the feeling was so incredible having done it the first time. I was like, I can't believe I fucking waited so long to do this. And like, I already knew that I was a piece of shit. So like, I mean, they'll say that like we're sick, right? And like, I agree with that. And like all the stuff that I learned, and it was way more positive than negative of an experience for me. Any negativity I perceived in the exercise was a mind trick by my ego, thinking I knew how somebody else was going to act here and all this shit, or thinking that I wasn't going to feel better, even though all of these other people said that they did it and they feel a lot better. And the experience was overall so positive and constructive and way less demoralizing and like deconstructing, sort of, like, in a way than I thought. Although we are trying to like deconstruct like old ideas and old habits and perceptions. But I mean, like, from like a self-worth standpoint, like, I thought I was just going to be completely broken down and just walked out of there like with like a box of Cottonelle and like wanting to go get high on the Ave again. Like, but that wasn't it at all. It was incredibly eye-opening, and it was a deconstruction that I needed. And I just walked out of her little therapy office just like, what the fuck is this, man? Like, what the hell is happening to me? And it was very much a spiritual moment for me. Like, if there was any moment in my life that was like a burning bush, there's this one time I was driving home from working at RCA. That was one. And the other one would have been like all of the realizations that I had about myself in doing step 5. And now I just can't see myself saying like, yeah, it's okay if you rob yourself of that experience for a year and maybe never get to experience it, because who knows if you're going to go get high again. I can't do that. Knowing that how good it feels and how foundational it was to the rest of my life. Like, I need to rush people into that, man, because it's incredible.
Dude, so that feeling that you just talked about, right? Like, I'm going to try to put my 4 and 5 experience into words, and it won't even come close to doing it justice, but I'm just going to throw out,
man. It's hard because it's that impactful, man.
Well, it brings you, yeah, man. Like, all right, so here's my effort.
Yeah.
So much I could say, but it's not going to do it justice. Like, and I'm about to go into an area that I've told you and everyone else on this recording a ton of times I love, and that is victimhood.
There you go.
Love talking about that topic. So up until being guided into this simple exercise, because it was presented to me in a very simple way, Not knowing it at the time, I was the victim and the world was the perpetrator.
Yes.
Now, it just so happens that the perpetrators were very varied. It was people, it was also society at large, because they were out for me, right? They knew about Nick Anastasi and they were out for me. It was women and people and relationships and all of it. So I had this thought process that I had fed and just lit on fire over and over again, and because of that thought process, I couldn't take any steps in the right direction. All I could do was dabble with like, all right, I'll come to a meeting, leave me alone. Couldn't really take action, like big league action. And I just remember specifically having one moment in step 5. And for anyone who doesn't know what that is, it's just where you go over that 4th step with your sponsor and kind of focus on what I'm kind of saying here, which is what is my part or my contribution to these things I've written down.
I also know people that chose to do 5th steps with like clergymen, stuff like that.
Yep. Yeah, so I remember this moment where I said to my sponsor, and I was like, I can't describe the feelings I felt at the moment I said this. I looked at him and I said, I've been fucking myself over my whole life. And like, dude, what I think I learned in that moment was I was never the victim. I was never just the victim. I was the victim and the perpetrator at the same time. Like I was the
wicked dick punch right there, dude.
Like the whole fucking universe that I know now looks different.
Oh, dude, it's such a great thing.
The victim and the perpetrator, right? And here's the correction that I think I kind of learned in that moment with my sponsor's guidance. The perpetrator is not a bad guy. He's just a guy that contributes to all his own fucking problems. He might be a bad guy. He probably stole your shit. He probably cheated on you. He probably lied to your face and stole your money or whatever, all that shit we do. But the perpetrator is also the guy who contributes to the very things that he complains about and plays the victim over. So like now with this realization that I'm the victim and the perpetrator, like, I'll just say it this way. My ability to now start taking action completely blew through the roof. Because, like, the coolest thing that my sponsor did for me was he kind of looked at me, and this wasn't a moment as much as just like a kind of a thing, like an experience, a back and forth. He kind of looked at me and said, hey, guess what, bud? Me too.
Yeah.
You see all these other guys you know in the program? Them too.
Yeah.
Welcome to the club of it's not everybody else's fault. And dude, like driving out of there, like that literally changed my entire life.
It was incredible, man.
Because now I'm not stuck in victimhood where I can't be better until the world changes. Now I got a new mindset, which is like, yo, I think I can move forward and just like trust the actions that I'm being told to take. Literally 2 different people.
Like now I think I can adapt with the world as it presents itself to me.
And I'm not a victim. Like I am a victim sometimes, but I have a choice moving forward on whether I'm a participant or not. And what I learned as I looked through those columns, yes, there were some situations where people totally fucked me. I had no part. Very few. But in 95+% of cases, I was a direct participant in every single thing that I felt emotional and complained about.
More often than not, I put myself in a position to be hurt in the first place.
Yep.
And even if there were people that actually did me wrong without provocation and I didn't bring it about in any way, like there were quite a few of those on my 4th step, just as like family members from my childhood. And the Me Too's were massive for me. Like the fact that I wasn't as like uniquely insane and manipulative and as much of a piece of shit as I thought I was. Turns out it's pretty common, right? Even whether that makes you happy or sad, you know, whatever. But I don't know, some people like being special. But these people that I could never forgive because there was no way that I could link myself to deserving what whatever they did was my perspective was never, well, what does their background look like? Like, what does their spiritual state look like? You ever hurt anybody and like not really mean to hurt them or know that you're hurting them as much as you are because you're acting like on defects of character that are motivated by like a bunch of shit that you haven't dealt with in the past? And I'm like, yeah, isn't that like what all this is about? Like the whole like writing the 4th step and doing the 5th and all that shit. Like, well, like how did they grow up and like what are they dealing with? Like, do you know the kind of stuff that might be making them do these kind of things? Are you the only one that gets to make a mistake? Are you the only one that gets to like? Are you the only one that like gets to have a bad moment with somebody, with like how you treat another person? Like, are you the only one that gets to have reasons and excuses behind bad behaviors? Like, and it's just like and that threw like a whole nother pair of glasses on, where like I was able to see a lot of people that as sick, like the book talks about, instead of seeing everybody as bad. Because I had a lot of people on that list that I would say were bad, but I just don't know why they do what they did, but they did it. I didn't know why I did a lot of the bad shit I did to other people, but I did it. And I didn't mean to hurt a lot of people. I'm sure whether they meant to hurt me or not, I mean, I don't know. But, and then I end up at like the Jesus line of like, they know not what they do. Like a real like character blindness, blinded by like a lot of just faulty perceptions and ideas. And I'm not the main character. Like everybody else is allowed to have that kind of shit happen to them too.
Dude, those questions like you just gave an example of, like I just remember at like small moments wanting to like backhand my sponsor for some of those questions, dude. Like they are the most incredible questions in the world, and they're so like non-invasive, if you will. Like I just remember going through some of these resentments and stuff, and just the simplest shit, dude. And you just said it right. Like I got this one a lot. Hey, have you ever done that? Jesus Christ, man. Had
so simply worded. Like it just feels like the biggest fucking insult. It's like when a little kid calls you, like it says like your head is stupid or something, you know what I mean? You ever done that, dude?
And then when you say yes, they cheese a little bit. You're just like, God damn, dude, it shatters years of a mental story in an instant.
Oh,
right?
Shit.
You know, it's like funny. It's like exactly how you put it. It's like, hey, you ever do that? Oh, shit, yes, I have. So are you the only one who's allowed to do that?
Yeah. Yeah, motherfucker, I am. Get me out of this place. I want to go home.
I want to go home.
Yeah, I don't know you.
But just incredible, man. And you know, like again, like I just think that it's so incredible to get people into it. And one thing I'll say that I do think is a shame, to take us back to slight controversy. It is a shame how many people get told up and down about the experience before they have it.
Yes. Because
I think it really mind fucks them in most cases. But I think everyone who does that, it's usually well intended, and like I get it.
Yeah, there was a gentleman that was asking me questions after I spoke at Keystone last night, and he asked me, just because it relates to like what you were saying, and he asked me about what my experience with like implementing the steps were like. And is like, he was like in his mid-40s. It was his first time in rehab, and he was asking like about the 4-step a little bit. And I prefaced my answer, because I wanted to give him a genuine answer, but I prefaced my answer with like, to be clear, I'm not telling you like, I don't want to shape how you think your experience is going to be, because everybody's experience is different. but you're asking me about mine, so I'm going to tell you mine, is basically what I said. And, but yeah, it's a big part of why I struggled was because everybody everybody almost made it seem like they were in fucking Iraq or something. And I just like, this just wasn't it, man.
Mm-hmm.
This just wasn't it. The really mindfucky thing about both 4 and 5 is how you can't help but start to fill in the blanks yourself for the rest of the list once you get to a certain point. Because you start to see patterns, you start to realize all of these major parts of yourself that are usually affected by things that you don't like. And before you know it, dude, you're just zooming, because it's like, it's all of a sudden it's like you're answering a test that you like studied for like every single day. And then you understand, then you start to like spiritually understand the exercise, and you start to get what exactly it is that we're doing here, right? Like that was my realization, like, oh, like we're going this deep, we're doing this stuff to this stuff, I'm fucked up in these ways. I think I'm starting to see what you guys are driving at. Like, this is when that started for me. I mean, all the blessings that I would get from like prayer and meditation and all that stuff beforehand were great, but like when I started doing this stuff and started noticing like all the like pride, sex, fear, like all of these things kept fucking repeating in my list, all the same fucking shit. And I'm like, huh, like, and nobody else is showing me this. I'm writing this for my own experiences. I don't think I'm messing with myself. Like, there's something here. And it's all the repetition and like starting to notice patterns, I think it's like a real sneaky fucking thing that happens, but was major, because that lays the foundation. That realization within yourself and the patterns that you have lays the foundation for 6 and 7 and like all of the maintenance steps to follow.
I couldn't agree more, man. And I really think that it changes the role I start to play. And what I mean by that is, like, because I'm not special anymore, and because I'm not unique anymore, and because I'm just a run-of-the-mill fucked up dude who's doing the best with his shitty bag of tricks, I can go forward. Like, God damn it, I can go forward, dude. And what's so crazy is, I just wanted to throw this out there. Like, I got to see that with step 5, particularly in relationships and sex. I got to see, like, bro, you're approaching relationships at almost 30 with like a pre-teenager's bag of tricks. What the fuck are you doing? You're wondering why like these women are doing this and that and people are pissing you off. You're literally like at almost 30 years old doing what you somehow learned how to do at like 15.
Stop catcalling, dude. No catcalling no more.
Like it, dude, it's just, it is so incredible in so many ways. And the simplicity of it is so freeing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. That's what's really, really weird, is how simple it is and how effective it is. Because I swore it was going to take Gandalf the fucking Grey to jump out of the TV and just like smack me with a staff, and then I wake up a better dude and not addicted to heroin anymore. Yep. And then like,
because it would take Gandalf to fix someone as uniquely broken as us.
Well, yeah, I am the man, both positively and negatively, and you better respect.
Yep.
Put some spec on my name.
You're not as great as me, and you also by default can't be as fucked up as me. It's not possible. And
you can get fucked.
Yeah. So, should we take a little break before we hit on 6 and 7?
We can. Yeah.
You got any stogies?
I do. I won't be joining you.
Yes.
Yeah, I got you.
Awesome.
And we're back. Very dry. The cough's not productive, so I'm hoping that like I'm not getting like really messed up over here.
probably just run its course. Then you'll get taken care of for a couple days, and everyone will be good.
Yeah, dude. Maybe if the Eagles win the Super Bowl, I'll just call out. My days there are numbered anyway. Why should I care?
Yeah, I've gotten very lucky so far this winter, dude. I'm probably due just with getting sick.
Yeah, mine usually comes at like temperature fluctuations.
Mm-hmm.
Like change of seasons, I usually get sick.
Do you get like allergies and stuff during the year, or not really?
No, I don't have any allergies.
Any of that either.
Yeah.
Well, not currently. I know they fluctuate too.
Yeah, apparently.
So
I usually get COVID in the summer.
Ronies?
Mm-hmm. Every year I've gotten it in the summer.
How many times you had it now?
Once a year, I think.
So like, is that 3, 4? Might be 4 by now.
I think 3.
2020? Yeah,
Maybe 4.
I've had it twice, but I'm a nail biter.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty much like literally licking doorknobs without knowing it. Just biting my nails, dude. I knew I was going to get it.
At that rate, like we're all basically just breathing in like a bunch of farts and fumes every day. Like we're all fucking gross at some degree, man. I bite my nails too. I love it. I mean, I don't really give a shit. I'm not as bad as you are, but
I think I'm the worst I know.
You might. I had a childhood friend that was a lot like you. I don't know what he's doing now. I thought his significant other was like having trouble with drugs, and he didn't like that, even though I had testimony that she was. But whatever. That's completely irrelevant to anything that we're talking about. 6 and 7.
Yeah, dude, grease us in.
That's
what you got.
Grease us in.
Grease us in there. It's gotta be subtle, bro. Grease us in. So we got this 4 and 5.
Anybody
experience.
ever tell you what the fuck is wrong with your dumb ass? Is that greasing?
That's greasing.
Open that glory hole up, boy. I'm gonna slip some words in it. I'm gonna whisper in your hole. Don't make me laugh. I'm sick. Oh, I went heavy with the lemon. Oh, hell yeah. 6 and 7, dude. All roads in life lead back to steps 6 and 7. The end.
So to kind of lead us up to this, I think that the way this was presented to me was a little bit sense of humorish.
Okay.
Because what I was told to do after 4 and 5 was to try not to do the things I had uncovered in steps 4 and 5.
Okay.
And
pretty good advice.
Comically, though, it didn't work very well.
Go fucking figure, bro. Like, yeah, if I try to just like not, I said this in maybe even our home group. Like, I tried that before. Like, there were plenty of times where I wasn't really like ready to give up the drink or the drug, but I just wanted to be like, I wanted to be a good person. Like, I never wanted to be a dickhead or a thief or a very violent person. Like, I had never, or a cheater or a liar. I didn't want to be any of those things. And there were plenty of times where I made that internal commitment the same way that I made the internal commitment to not use or drink anymore at many bullet points in my life, to just like be a better person. I was like, I don't want to do any of this kind of shit to people, and never worked. I couldn't will myself to stay sober. I couldn't will myself to be a better person.
Well, and I think that's where the program, I agree with all roads, dude, because that's where the program, in my like experience, takes a very interesting twist, like a brand new turn in the road. And I don't know if I can really like say it like here's what it is, but I quickly learned that like I couldn't change something just because I was aware of it, and I couldn't change something just because I wanted to.
But being aware of it, which is important, is like helps a lot, because especially now, like that you're tapped into like kind of the spiritual dimension of like going through a day-to-day life as a human, like you will see real life, like zoomed in momentary examples of when that like character defect would arise where you wouldn't see it before.
Yeah, there's a quote that says a problem clearly identified is already half solved. And it's funny how it's half solved.
Yeah.
Well, what's the other half?
Yeah.
See, and it's funny, dude, because like I feel like most of the guys I run into in recovery, I only say that because I go to the men's group, and I feel like there's probably a difference between the way that like men and women sometimes approach recovery. I don't really know, but what I'm getting at is I had a very bootstraps mentality, and I think that most of the dudes I've talked to or work with have some version of the same thing. So there's like this simple math problem to be done. It's like, all right, I did steps 4 and 5. I got these now it's time to just fix them and not do them.
Right.
But the weird thing is, if that would have worked, we would have probably already done it already. So now we got a real conundrum on our hands. Bootstraps does not seem to really like put a dent in this shit.
Like, what does just fix them mean?
Right?
I thought that was just feeling. I thought that was just like an inner trying to play God from like my insides and just be like, okay, like better Jeremy.
Yeah. Right.
It never worked. It's not how it works.
Yeah, and like to kind of go into like being able to talk about this, I got to jump to something I learned a few weeks or months in. Let's go months. That makes more sense. And that is changing in steps 6 and 7 and on is not a direct cause and effect relationship. That would lend itself to self-help. I see a problem, I fix a problem, no more problem. That's not my experience. It's more like this. Identify a problem and allow yourself, with the help of your higher power and those around you, allow yourself to be helped. Allow the problem to be fixed. And see, that's pretty fucked up, because that is totally counterintuitive to me. Like, my brain literally does not work that way. But that's like a few months into practicing this, what I realized about step 6 and 7. And I think it clearly says it in the steps, right? We're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character.
Yeah.
Well, shit, that's where the religious critics are going to jump in, man.
Yeah.
What? Whoa, what are you talking about? You're smacking self-help here. And then humbly asked him to remove my shortcomings, our shortcomings. Well, where do I come into this? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's
What do I do? When do I get to do stuff?
yeah, like I thought we weren't going religious here, but holy shit, we are.
Yeah.
And like, what is happening?
Yeah,
I still don't even know if I believe.
I'm looking for empowerment here, man. Like,
And you are actually asking me to depower, which is the whole idea of the step.
yeah. Anyone ever tell you guys suck for all this shit?
You totally false advertised here, dude. You told me in the beginning that God wasn't important, that I, as an agnostic or atheist, could just rock out, and here we are.
I'm just talking mad shit now, dude. We're not even trying to help anybody.
Dude, it's legit.
It is legit.
It's so legit. This is the way a lot of people think.
It is though. Like, I saw that, and that was probably like the most like religious step that I saw on the list. It just made me think like 4 through 7 just was just like, so you want me to go to confession? Like, no, you guys think you're fucking slick. You ain't slick, bud.
Yep. But yeah, dude, like, so what I think I did the first couple months of these steps, and really early on, was just observe. Just look out for like when you're afraid and backing away from stuff.
That's the key phrasing. That's the key way to frame the experience, I think, is a lot of observing. It's like, I need to, like, I mean, I knew a lot of what was wrong with me, right? Like, from a character standpoint, like the glaringly obvious of like wanting, like, very dishonest and manipulative and stuff like that. But when you get deeper into like how your pride gets affected by all of that stuff, your financial security, emotional security, when you break down the word fear, what it actually means, of like worrying about not getting something you want or losing something that you already have, then I have like a lot of control issues, shit like that, expectations. When it's broken down into all that stuff, it's meticulous enough for me to assign a character defect or a switch in my mind when something happens that normally would bring out a defective behavior. And I can think about the defective thought and feel and assign based on my experience in the fourth step, what I learned from the fourth step, a faulty way of thinking that like I currently feel and like the way that I perceive the situation. And then most of the time, the best thing to do is nothing. Because if I do something, it's going to be motivated by that thing, whatever I assign it to. And that's like, it's very hard to do at first, but it gets easy with practice.
Dude, that's exactly how like, it's exactly how I experienced it, how I understand it. And like, I noticed that the guys that the people that practice this, right? Like all of us, all you can really put it to is what is right in front of you in your life at the time.
Yeah.
Some people are going to apply early 6 and 7 predominantly to their job. Some people are going to experience 6 and 7 predominantly in the recovery house that they're getting very tired of living in. But dude, it's just so funny how like for me, it was my relationship. Like Lauren and I were at a point where like it was time to really start growing up and like moving in a direction, you know. It was sort of like
adulthood.
Yeah, like, hey, you're sober now, that's phenomenal, like we're doing pretty good, but like where are you going here, what you know,
we gotta
like
start a new chapter somehow.
Exactly. So for me, just to give a couple examples, and it goes exactly to the defective thought thing. So like a big fear pattern of mine was when confronted or challenged to kick back and have an answer and defend. That was just a something I always did, right? Like if you came at me in a way that was too true or too uncomfortable, I didn't have the ability to acknowledge that like you were entitled to a feeling, right? I didn't know how to do that. What my ego, I understand now, needed to do was defend my position. There's no way I'm going to say to you back then, hey, Jeremy, I see where you're coming from, man. That's not really like confessing guilt. That's just allowing you to be a different human being with a different opinion than mine.
Yeah.
I did not have that ability.
Everybody was just like opposition.
Yep.
Yeah, that was
like
it.
I have to defend where I'm at. I have to excuse what you don't like, and so that was one of my like early things that became possible by doing what you said. It was doing nothing first that made me able to let you have an opinion second.
Yeah.
There's that special, unique fucking superstar Nick again.
And like this is why like step 5 is so important, because not only is talking incredibly therapeutic even without feedback. That's why like when we tell people to pray, when I was told to pray, it wasn't like, okay, think the words to God. It's like you fucking say them like out loud, you know? And there's definitely something behind that. Like I've tried both ways, obviously, and like saying prayers out loud for whatever reason feels different than if I just try to like say the prayer in my head. I don't know what's behind that, but in talking about these things, that's how you're made aware of them. You can't change problems that you don't really know about. I mean, you know, there's problems here in your behavior, or else you would have had nothing to write on the 4th step, and then everybody just calls you a liar anyway, right? So with all these things found out, like, and in going through the list, my mind went back to the situations that I put down on paper and started to apply these words that Kim was telling me about, like the character defect words, and starting to think back to how I felt in that moment. And it was almost like an Instagram filter, like putting that word filter on that situation, and it fit almost every single time. And like through, again, like every step in the big, like in the 12 steps to me is filtered through previous experiences of when I was sick. And that is why I'm so convinced of them, because I've like, it's almost like I've gone back in the past in my brain and experienced them myself through that lens. And it's the most true way that I've experienced it. I tried experiencing it the different way, which is why I had a fourth step, right? My fourth step is the way that I previously experienced life. This other viewpoint is way more true to me, way more empowering, and way more empowering to the point where like I have a diagnosis now. You know what I mean? With like all of my problems, and like I can do something about it. And a lot of it is like not doing anything, and a lot of it is giving power up elsewhere, but it still all starts with me anyway.
So real quick, like, do you feel like in your work with this, you know, back then and obviously moving forward, like, do you feel like, because I feel like it's really important for people to hear like what you said. So in between thought or feeling and defective thing, just to use program words, do you feel like you started to become aware of like what came before the defect? Because you had said like something about like a defective thought or feeling. Like, were you starting to become aware of like where you tend to go as you were practicing this?
Yeah. Like you just start to notice your own patterns. I started to notice my own patterns, like in real time. I mean, I had patterns when I was like writing the same thing over and over again in the fourth step, and my sponsor was saying the same thing over and over again in the fifth step. But like, and all of that only goes so far until you experience life, right? Because that's a very like solitary moment, like that time with your sponsor and doing that fourth step. But you have the whole entire rest of your life to learn how to apply whatever it is that you learned from it. And I didn't go, I wasn't some big brain fucking genius like going through the 12 steps, having all of this shit said to me and just being like, okay, and then doing calculus behind the scenes of how to implement it in my life because I'm just some unique fucking brainchild. Like that's 100% not what happened. This is just me articulating what happened to me. Like I didn't consciously choose for any of this to happen, except for like the action that I took, right? But like the words that I'm saying about my experiences are just me going back to how I felt in the moment and how experiences came to me and I opened myself up to them. That's all it is. So like with the whole thing, like I would notice, like I knew what set me off and what made me tick. That's what the whole like 6 and 7 is about, right? Like, you know what situations are probably going to make you feel a certain way because they pertain to these human aspects, and these human aspects and my patterns tend to be like a little sensitive to me, right? Whether it's like fear or finances or at multiple points, like before I met Madeline, like sexual temptations, stuff like that. Like I know what a situation's hitting for because I have examples, I have precedents, and yeah, it took a little bit of like life to experience and like get to, it takes, and I mean, you don't come out of like that basement having done the fifth step, like knowing how to apply them. Like, practice the principles in all of our affairs I take very literally. I take like the Eagles are practicing for the Super Bowl. A musician practiced his whole entire life to like get up to that like breakout single or whatever the fuck it was. Like, practice as in like repeatedly attempt to apply these things and do a little bit better, knowing that you're going to fail, but you're still going to get better because you're repeatedly trying anyway. And like that's what this is. Everybody's failing everywhere. And when you practice, you get what you asked me about. You just get to be better at recognizing all of this like metaphysical stuff.
Yep. Yeah, dude, my experience then and now is also not very intellectual. Like, it's not a mechanical process. The reason I asked is because I really like how you sort of painted out that like by becoming aware and sometimes not acting on something, a feeling or a thought, which to me is at the absolute heart of 6 and 7, I'll start to see different outcomes unfold in my life.
You know what's weird about that is like a lot of times I wouldn't act at all because, especially in the beginning, I wouldn't do anything in a situation that would call for me to do something like that because I didn't want to do the wrong thing that I know I wanted to do, but I didn't have anything else to do instead. So like I would just end up doing nothing. Yep. I didn't know what the right answer was, but I knew what the wrong answer was, and I just didn't do that. And like like it sounds kind of like hacky, I guess.
Dude,
like,
I think it's literally like so important though, because that's all you got. Like I think that's one of the most uncomfortable parts about like the first year of recovery. We'll call it like, you know, for respect to when people get into the steps, like that 6 months to a year of getting into your step work, that's what's so uncomfortable, I think, is exactly what you said. Like, yeah, I don't have a better fucking solution. I just know where I don't want to go.
Yeah, that was it.
I don't want to walk out of this conversation with my girlfriend at the time, making her feel like shit and like telling her that I'm right and she's wrong.
So I'm not going to do what I always did before that always ended up that way.
Yep.
I don't have anything to put in its place, but like, I just know I can't do that anymore.
But that's so, and think about it, man. Like, see, it's little hints like that that make spirituality make sense to me. Not religion, not ideology, just like, I feel like we're talking about this little space between like where shit starts and where we always went. And if you look at like that little unknowing spot in between, like that's where something fucking happens, dude. I don't know. You know, it's like, but I can relate so much to like, I don't know where to go. But I do know where I do not want to go. And maybe if I start looking at this and talking about this and shooting up some prayers, I might not go there.
Just like avoiding the places and like attitudes and words that you know you shouldn't go to, like, and actions that you shouldn't do. Like, you can more often than not stumble into the right thing instead. And whether that's like in an actual like momentary moment of time, or like if it's like 3 years down the line, like I don't know, inaction yields like the same around, like inaction is always better than just doing the wrong thing because you think you have to do something. It's weird. I was going to say like it's almost as good as doing the right thing, but sometimes inaction is the right thing. So like, yeah, if I just avoid the wrong, that's good enough a lot of times.
Yeah, and at the risk of making it sound mechanical, which I'm trying not to do, when I call time out and don't act, do you know what doesn't get a vote? My ego. Right? Like when I'm reactive, dude, when I'm giving you an in the moment response to something that is emotionally activated, I fucking guarantee you my ego's all over that.
Yeah.
Right? I'm right and no, and I don't like the way you said that one thing. And and it's very like self-based. It's very like I need to defend my existence.
Yeah.
But when I just like somehow with the help of all this just don't like literally I can vividly remember like as I was starting to go in this direction of like amends and I'm in this spot in my recovery, I can remember calling my sponsor and talking about like scenarios, right? Just trying to get a little support and feedback. And what I would do is I would pitch it in a way where I had this great idea conjured up. Hey, I'm having this situation at work, or I'm going to do this with Lauren. And I would give him my play-by-play that I perfectly crafted up. And 100% of the time he would say, I would highly suggest you do not do that at all.
That's a funny ass statement, man. That's so funny.
But it speaks to like the point of like I don't have an answer, and like it's time to just kind of let this be.
Right.
Like don't
Right.
fucking do anything.
Yeah. And like it can be a little daunting to somebody that's just like, well, how am I going to recognize when like this kind of stuff pops up? And like a little thing that I always like to say is like, have you ever like you ever gotten like a new car or like a new pair of shoes that like you just haven't really seen a lot of people have before, and then you see it on everybody after you get them? That's exactly what it's like when you are woken up to the defects of your character. It's like, okay, you've been made aware of them now. Now you see, you all of a sudden you just wake up to them appearing within yourself in everyday situations and interactions. It's like the best way I've been able to kind of like quantify it.
That's exactly the experience I had when I learned about addictive behaviors in rehab.
Yeah.
Right. I learn all about these addictive behaviors, and I like leave rehab and I'm like, what the fuck? Like the therapist has them, you have them.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, yeah.
what
Also,
is
and
going
noticing them in
on?
other people. Yeah. That's also another
Always
part
the
of it.
first
Yeah.
place we like to notice.
Yeah, for sure.
But it is funny, man, how like, yeah, it wakes you up to how much it's like, yeah, obviously going on in your behavior, but dude, I see it in everybody, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like how many times in recovery have you said, like on this defect topic, man, I really wish more people would practice the 12 steps. Dude, I've said that hundreds of times.
A lot. Definitely a lot. It's almost what started this whole fucking thing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's just so freeing to be able to like, it sounds so fucking weird. It's very freeing to have the willingness. I don't like saying that I have humility, but the action, a prerequisite to the action, I feel like, is humility. So I have to say it anyway. To have like the willingness and the humility to be somewhat, I would say somewhat vigilant in self-examination. And also, if we're not practicing like being present, it's also easy to like kind of like not be super great at like catching where you're falling short in the moment. Because if your mind's elsewhere, you're not going to be focused on what is like metaphysically happening inside of you, and you're just going to assign it automatically like you did before in a defective way because you're preoccupied elsewhere. That's my experience, at least. And
So,
oh yeah, go ahead.
So on the humility thing real quick, like, you know, I think that like a way that's meaningful to me to look at humility is just taking an attitude of not knowing. It doesn't mean that
Fair
like
enough. Yeah.
I'm great or I'm, you know, spiritual or
Yeah.
it's just taking an attitude of not knowing. And it's like pretty wild to think of all of the great things that can happen in life when you take that attitude. Mm-hmm. So like if I look at things that I've learned, being new at jobs, getting to know somebody that I'm gonna date or be friends with. Mm-hmm. In the beginning, there's this attitude of not knowing where you don't have like a quick judgment or like need to be right or make it about me.
Yeah.
And like taking that attitude, dude, is where the most incredible things come from. You know, like kind of given that little like piece of time where I'm just going to let a situation unfold.
Right.
You know,
I've experienced in that. But it's just great to have adopted all of those traits in like the ways that we have in order to like be present enough to see all of that shit. Because like I mean, I could have done 4 and 5 and skipped up to like the amends and maintenance steps or whatever. But like, if I didn't have any way to point to the part that I play in my own difficulties on a day-to-day basis, but I would lose my fucking shit. I would absolutely lose my shit. And I would be like as every day goes on, I would probably grow more into that, just like spoiled and like egotistical, like petulant child that just think that he knows like how the world and everybody else should be within it. And it's just like, which I can still get sometimes, but thank God for these kind of tools, man. And like, they're not, and this is like a major reason, like the meat and potatoes of the program, which is this kind of shit, is like meetings, prayer, all that stuff, super fucking important. But like, this is where like the rubber meets the road. What is it? It's in the 12 and 12 where it says like, these are the steps that separate the boys from the men.
Yep.
Like, okay, so you've done all this stuff, really fucking great. You're already farther along than most people. Now you've been told what the fuck is wrong with you and how a lot of it's your fault, and it's your fault to fix it as often as you can. And you are now going to either change or not. And most people in society don't even get to the point where they are willing to listen to somebody saying something like, you know, you have a part in this situation that you don't like very much. A lot of people in the world are like that. Like, I try to tell people, I try to slip that in at work sometimes to people. They're just like, what are you talking about?
If you only knew, if you had my life type stuff.
Oh, I just let them be. Yeah, I just let them be. They're going to end up discovering that at some point, or they're not. I don't have to be God with it.
Yeah, dude, it's just incredible how, like, if I look back on like these steps, what these steps started to build and where like I was taught to go and just everything that happened next, man, like the most beautiful part is like I can live in the world, experience a lot of the same situations I've always have, but not have to go where I used to go. That's literally the most important part, dude.
Yeah, man.
It's like the inputs are still the same so often. Attitudes, frustrations, unfairnesses, they're real, right? Stupidity, yes, that's me, but everybody else too, right?
Yeah.
But I don't have to go where I always used to go and feel what I used to feel and use something to numb it. And like, yeah, man, it's like that. It's like that space right there where I get to little by little start going a different direction.
Yeah, I go down as far as to like when I have those judgments and like objections to people in reality or whatever, it's just like, who the fuck, like, when did I get a vote? Like that's where I go with it. I'm just like, who the fuck asked you, dude?
Well, and think about what one of our homies at the meeting the other night said, man, that he talks about pretty regularly. You remember when he talked about, I'll just say his first name, Ryan. You remember when he talked about wanting to be significant? Mm-hmm. See, that speaks like really true to me and like exactly what we're talking about in 4 through 7.
Yeah.
Like when my thinking and behavior and all the emotions that come with it are aimed at significance, wanting to feel significant and special and heard, which is like a need that people have. Like, I don't want to go too far, but I'm usually headed in like I don't want to be there direction.
Right.
I'm usually headed to like superiority or like I'm right, you're wrong, if you only knew.
Most people want to be like seen, heard, matter, and remembered.
But don't you think like back to that word humility that a lot of times, like, I feel like people kind of look at a lot of different ways. Like, do you ever feel like part of it is just like living in the world and doing your best, but not needing to have that superiority, like just living in the world?
That's the way that I like tangibly experience it. I would say that's a good way to phrase it.
Yeah.
Just like not needing to be. And like, there was a phrase I heard like earlier on. It's so weird how like now, like, I'm getting up there in like sobriety years, right? Like, I'll have 9 years in October, right? And like now I'm like, God, dude, like what was that one thing I heard? You know what I mean? In like 2017, like, what was that? It's just a really weird thing to experience. It was I think just not needing to be seen. I think that was it. Like, not needing not needing attention. And in like it was also like kind of coupled with what you could probably call like an anonymous altruism, which is in the green card it says one of the greatest gifts in life, I'm probably butchering it, one of the greatest gifts in life is doing a good deed for somebody and trying your best to keep it a secret, which is something that I subscribed to very early on because I had like a green card in my wallet every single day. Yeah, humility is very much like I'm going, and another thing was my brain's just bouncing all over the place. Another thing is like, how do I act when nobody's looking? Like that's also a humble thing, I think. Yeah, not needing to be seen, not needing attention for my good actions, doing good things because they're good, not because I want attentions and a gold star. And what was the other thing that I just said? Oh no.
Dude, I'm just sitting here thinking about all the fucking ping pongs I got going in my head. Dude, I'm sorry. I'm guilty of I'm just waiting to talk.
Dude, it's absolutely fine. It's absolutely fine.
I just like, I love that, like not needing to be seen thing, man, because that's a really good way to put a label on a lot of the freedom that I felt in varying points of my recovery, man. Like when I'm there, it is incredible. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean that like I'm not moving ahead and achieving some success, but like, yeah, you just nailed it with like when I don't have that pressing need to be seen and heard and valid and important, I'm so blended in the world, man. I'm so like chipper and free and light. But like, you know, it's something interesting that happened to me was like I made this decision a few years ago to start pursuing therapy. Mm-hmm. Just because like I found this guy and he's also in recovery, and we kind of put a lot of the work we did through like a 12-step spiritual lens, which was awesome. But he sort of took me down this more like kind of emotional, like how do you feel type path. And I gotta say that like I think a necessary byproduct of that was like I wanted to start being more valid, and I wanted to start being more seen and heard and felt and accepted. Mm. It kind of took me just a different direction, and I think in the end it was necessary. But like, yeah, it's weird, man. It fluctuates. Like on my best day, I just try to do the best I can regardless of who's watching.
Yeah, and
get to feel incredibly just right-sized, man. Like just quiet, you know.
So like a good example I have of this, so many people do this, and this is kind of going to be like a little bit of a vent for me. You ever hear somebody like just randomly bring up like a good thing they did for somebody else completely unprovoked? Why the fuck are you bringing that up, dude? Like that to me is like embodies exactly what I'm talking about. Like, I don't care that you're like, I mean, good for you for doing all the good shit, but like you needing to tell somebody about it is the thing. That's the thing that I'm talking about. Like, I wouldn't have mentioned having gone to Keystone on last night to speak when I also just filled in on Wednesday to speak, unless it was pertinent to the conversation, which it was. And you would have died in 30 plus fucking years not knowing that Jeremy spoke on 2/7/2025 at Keystone in Chester. Like, I just don't. And like that kind of stuff, that like kind of real experienced like scenario is one that I looked out for a lot, because when I started realizing, when I assigned that to like an ego thing, I would notice when like I would notice the want to say something good that I did pop up, and then I would be able to think in my head, there's literally no point to say that except for yourself. Like, and that's what, when I think of like humility, that's a really good example that I try to go to, because I know people like that all the fucking time. Just be like, hey, I was driving the other day and I saw this really sick guy like on Columbus Boulevard, and he just looked really sick and needed some money. So I just said like, yeah, man, go get yourself something to eat, you know, because I'm that kind of guy. I'm like, I don't give a fuck, bro. I'm sorry. Like, good for you, but like that then like the motivation is in question as to why you're actually doing the kind act, and you might not really know whether or not it's actually motivated. This is me within myself, the dialogue I took myself through.
Well, it's like really makes sense and is meaningful to me, because I remember you saying on Wednesday night, and I've heard you say this before, that you struggle with compliments.
Yes.
And I experience the exact same internal dialogue. I struggle with them too. And I think that if I were to boil it down a little further, what you're talking about is why. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know how to like feel the same about something that's like in the light, that's said out loud. And dude, what you were saying about like those examples of like people know about it now, I think that's one of the most detrimental parts that we've experienced with social media is before.
Oh my God, dude.
Before social media, there was a lot of just spiritual transactions that took place in society, and there's still
behind
are.
the scenes in society, though.
And and like nobody knew about it, dude.
Yeah.
Like you'll see some videos where like a person with a camera films somebody who's shaking in a restaurant trying to eat soup, feed them the soup. Just a good Samaritan, right? But they're not the ones. They're not filming themselves doing it. So I think to myself on your trail of thought here, like that's really cool.
Yeah.
But then I saw one the other day where a guy finds this like man in another country who's all disheveled with like a beard down to here and his hair's a fucking mess. And he's like clearly like looking at the camera and interacting with the camera.
Right.
And totally like it's probably his video.
Yeah.
He gives the man a haircut and he puts a button down shirt on him and he feeds him a meal. And it's like, I'm not trying to discredit what you're doing, bud, but it just kind of looks like you're doing this so that people see you doing this.
It's undeniable, the fact that you are filming it and posting it. I cannot buy that you're trying to inspire other people to be better, when that's probably a reason that they would say, I don't buy it. I just don't. I just don't fucking buy it.
Yeah, I think it's kind of something that's like really been lost, man. Like I do think that like, yeah, man, doing stuff to not be seen or heard just because it's who you're trying to be on that day is where like all the magic happens.
And it is kind of weird because it feels a little bit egotistical for me to tell people how to be humble properly, but like, I mean, fuck it. It is an ego thing and it pisses me off. Like, I hate going through social media and seeing people clearly do good things for attention. I fucking hate it. Now, it's good in the fact that the good thing is still being done, but like, and at that point, I guess, does the motivation really matter? And I think it does for like the global trends of society. Like, you should be doing that shit because you fucking care. And you can't convince me that you actually care if you're just filming it and you end up going viral and monetizing the video. Like, I just don't get it.
To kind of go even a little bit further in on this, right? I think that is why that's one of the reasons that most social justice movements to me, on both sides of the political aisle, make me uncomfortable.
Fair enough.
Because it's like, I get the sense that every single nonprofit and potentially social justice movement starts very well intended at a small scale.
I would agree.
Like, it's probably true that most of these nonprofits and these movements start very like doing good for the community. But then it becomes all about awareness and attention and advertising and, in everybody's purview. Mm-hmm. And I think you could make the case that what ultimately happens is they end up causing more harm to the population that they set out to serve than they would if they would have just stayed a small anonymous thing.
Yeah. It's almost like the McDonald's effect. Like, I'm sure McDonald's was fucking banging when they had like less than 5 locations, but now they're fucking everywhere. And look at RCA. I believe I've said forever since I've known about how much they plan to expand, they are going to be the McDonald's of rehabs. And I'll say that until the day I die. Mm-hmm. And that's what it's gonna end up being. That's what it seems like. A lot of what's going on at Devon the last couple times I've been there is like struggling census. With the struggling census, still the same percentage of patients are showing up to anything from what I hear. And like, sure, they're opening a PHP with housing program, but like, I don't know.
Yeah, man, it's just crazy. Like I feel what you said a minute ago though about like it's weird to tell people how to be humble.
Yeah.
But I just think like the only thing I can really say is like, and this is step 6 and 7, like the start of the road, like it was for me.
That is what we were talking about, isn't it?
Is like, yeah, man, it's just that spot of just like taking a minute in the moment and like trying to be a good human being off the camera and fucking trying to be right sized and trying to keep my ego out of things. Mm-hmm. And that's not like a real complicated statement. Like for me, dude, try to keep my ego out of things means just don't always have to have a response. Don't always have to react. Mm-hmm. It literally like takes
don't always need a reward as well. Yeah.
It literally takes me in the direction that like I've gotten to feel hundreds of times in recovery. Mm-hmm. But here's the weird side. I guess it's not. I don't get to feel it all the time. Mm-hmm. Like I can't, like this feeling that I've gotten to have, I don't get to stay there. Mm-hmm. I go up and down and back into the visibility and being right and then back right size again.
Yeah.
And it's this experience that just goes up and down for me. Like I can't say what it's like for other people, but in like my best right size moments, I'm always going to hop back on the throne again, dude. That's what I do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's how we're wired, honestly. I think that's just the spiritual pathway and like existing as a human being. I don't think there's really anything, unless you end up fucking enlightened. Like, I don't really think there's anything you can do to help that.
So my sponsor used to tell me that they interviewed several monks, and these monks were asked, can you maintain permanent enlightenment? And they would all say, nope, the human experience won't allow it. You'll always go back where you started.
Now, did that actually happen? Because
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure monks can't talk.
Only the silent monks. There's some vocal monks.
Are there vocal ones?
Definitely are. I think you're thinking like Hangover, like, you know, that movie where the dude takes like the speech vow.
I'm just thinking of men in robes that are quiet. I don't know where I got them from, dude. No idea where I got them from. Oh shit. Maybe I should check my browser history. But yeah, man, it's all about like 6 and 7 are all about like having these things identified and being willing to have them removed, right? AKA like do something about them and do something else about them instead. Don't act on those anymore. Just try the opposite. Usually works. And it really is as zoomed in as you had mentioned a second ago, and as I've alluded to, which is like when you are made aware of these things, you will notice them pop up in real time, in real conversations, in real situations that you experience. And then you have a crossroads. You can do what you've always done or do something else. That's what every single moment of those felt like to me. If you're this far along in the process, choosing the different road got you this far. No reason to go back to what you were doing before now.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, dude, options open up, and it's the most liberating thing in the world. Like
even options of what the better thing to do, like opens up. Like you have multiple good things to do.
Yep.
It's weird.
Dude, it's crazy, man. Like back to my example about early on and still sometimes in my weaker, you know, moments today when I'm blocked off, like not being able to just let people be where they're at and experience an opinion and a feeling that's different than mine. Right. It's the craziest thing in the world how like for years, what I always saw and felt was like we were disconnected. Mm-hmm. Like I needed to defend and you were trying to state your case and I'm trying to be right and protect myself. It's like I never fixed that by like figuring out the right thing to say. By doing like what we're talking about, not going where I used to go. All of a sudden I start experiencing things I never saw, man. Connection, moments where we're on the same page, moments where like dude, it's just those new roads are like literally limitless, man. If I'm willing to take a couple steps like before I go back there.
Yeah.
You know, like one of the things I've thought a lot about in all these things we're talking about is like, why do we go back to the same places over and over again, even though we know that the feelings suck? Like, I know what it's like to feel like I was just a total dick to somebody I care about and they're upset with me. Been there hundreds of times. And I guess it's like, this is sort of just a thought, like, if you don't take these like situations in the sense of awareness, you're probably gonna go back there. If it's if all you see is, if your only tool is a hammer, all you see is nails, right? As the saying says. So it's like, I'm gonna go back there if I don't start to develop like situational awareness and try a different course of action. And usually the opposite, right?
And also, if you don't have precedent of like anything else working, right? Working meaning like whether it contributes to, whether it positively or negatively impacts the moment at hand, you still see another day past the moment. Which is like what I would say like works means in the context. Like you haven't, I haven't tried anything else. I have this new action to take, but I don't know if I really trust it. Like then a bunch of what ifs pop up. Like what if I get hurt? What if I trust this person and they betray me? What if I say this right thing and then they get offended, or anything, dude, anything. Like what if I choose this right thing and it ends up not working out how I want it to work out? You just gotta, it's a bunch of little leaps of faith, man. The change in the character, like you talked about leaps of faith earlier when I was referring to like whether or not I was going to do my fourth step, and the changes of character are slowly implemented by meticulous like leaps of faith in acting a different way than you ever have before,
even if it's uncomfortable as shit.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it always is.
And I feel like something we both kind of said is like, to start to make changes, like I know you said this, at least, like you don't have to know what the better move is.
Yes.
That's the coolest part. Like there's bootstraps type thinkers like me would probably say, well, in order to go there, I gotta like know a better way to go there. But the coolest, most freeing part is like, nah, dude, you just kind of maybe don't do that thing, or like it's so incredible how like, I'm just trying to say, you don't have to have a better answer.
Yeah, I can either call this chick a cunt or I could tell her that she's like the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Maybe I just don't say either of those things. Yeah. And it might be awkward, but I'll be okay.
Yup.
Yeah.
Maybe, hey, you look nice today might suffice.
Yeah, maybe. You know, that comes after like not calling her a cunt 3 times, yes. And then you get that normal inspiration.
You get ability to say, you look nice today. Should you do something with your hair? It looks different.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It was nice speaking with you. See you tomorrow.
But good shit, brother.
Yeah. I got nothing else.
Me neither, man. Go birds.
Yeah,
go freaking birds.
Fucking birds, bro. Go birds.
And if the next time we hop on here, we lost by 10, I still love your fucking attitude about the game.
I'll have it again. Yeah. I won't have a team to really have it for until like spring training maybe starts. But like, yeah. Because the Flyers have just pretty much shown that like they're not worried about playoffs, which I knew. I don't think a lot of the fan base knew, or much of the league knew. Even though at the beginning of the year, our general manager came out and said like, we overachieved last year, we're going to be worse this year, and we're not worried about making the playoffs. And people are still talking about how they're not going to make the playoffs now. And it's like, no fucking shit, dude. Like the plan was never to make the playoff. I don't know, dude.
Well, yeah, it's just crazy
really
how
agree with that.
like people can't see any
Shit.
other option though, dude. Like remember Eagles talk at the start of the season? Tons of rookies, 2 good coordinators, but tons of rookies, all new defensive scheme. You know, Cox is gone. A lot of our Kelsey's gone.
I was worried about all the rookies. I'll be honest.
Me too. And
was worried
I
about
heard a
all-
lot of people say, like, I predict a 500 or a little better season, maybe a playoff run.
Oh, what did I have him at? I had him at. I think I had him at 12-5, something like that. Is what I had their record being at the end of the season.
Yeah, no, I agree with you though, man. Like the Sixers, I watched them last night.
Oh, I'm so happy
smacked.
that I don't know anything about basketball.
Yeah, they got smacked, and they had all 3 guys on the court: George, Maxey, and Embiid. Not looking great. Need time to mesh. Embiid is on knee management, but
Like needing time to mesh over halfway through a fucking season. Like, come on, dude.
that's what happens when you got a guy who's got no fucking knee cartilage left.
Dude, that's what happens when you have a sport full of people that have weird pituitary glands. Like, there are actual real risks here, and that's why these people die before they're fucking 57. Like, they have real. I don't know, man. Like, big men are great, bro, but like, outside of like, Shaq is like a freak, but like that Wembanyama kid. Like, how long do you really think a body like that is going to hold
He's like
up?
a Great Dane.
He's got like baseballs
like a
in between stick bugs, you know what I mean, attached to his fucking hips. Like, you just can't last, dude. It's biologically not gonna happen.
I can't stop thinking about a Great Dane now, dude. Lovable dog.
Seriously,
It's just
seriously,
don't last long.
Dalmatians, fucking. What else you got? Mastiffs, like they just don't, dude.
Mm-hmm.
They just don't. They don't make it.
Big men are great, but
Yeah,
it's awesome.
yeah, they're great, but they won't last enough for you to collect on their Social Security.
Good shit.
Yeah, dude. Fuck the Sixers, dude. I don't give a shit about the Sixers. Fuck Josh Harris, dude. Fuck him.
Sixers and Redskins.
And the New Jersey Devils. They also own them.
It is so controversial, man. I didn't know that till last week, what you just brought up, that he owns the Commanders and the Sixers.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what? That's sacrilegious.
Yeah, but now we beat his fucking ass for owning Commanders and also for ruining the fucking Sixers. So, yeah. But he made out with the Comcast contract anyway, so he's fine.
True. Isn't he looking at going in on the Celtics?
I heard I'm pretty sure
Jeff
he's
Lurie, it is.
I heard Jeffrey
It
Lurie
is.
was.
You're right.
But
You're
I'm
right.
pretty sure he has discounted those rumors at like Media Row in New Orleans. Like during the Super Bowl, he was asked about it. Because it's like his childhood team and he's like a huge Celtics fan. And everyone was like the reading between the lines seems to suggest that not that he doesn't have interest, but he probably got outbid by somebody else, because he's kind of like lower on the totem pole when it comes to wealthy sports owners. He's kind of like one of the little guys financially. So it doesn't surprise me that he got outbid, but thank God, because that would be weird.
Traders.
Go Birds.
Go
Dallas
Birds.
And Devontae, Saquon. I have a parlay.
So I used up all my weekly allotment last night, but I'd like to announce that I won $100 in doing it on slots.
Nice. Dude, it's like such a great thing that you do, but I can't not laugh when you allude to having an allowance to spend on something.
Yes.
But like
I had one bad
yeah.
week, dude, and I woke up. I had a jumping off moment.
That's just what it is, dude. So mine is I might go in on something else. But I have AJ and Devontae both over 60. Dallas over 4 receptions. Jalen Hurts to score a rushing touchdown and throw a passing touchdown.
Jalen Hurts to score a rushing touchdown. What are the chances?
Yeah, that's every week. Him and Josh Allen, I would put it in every week, and it would
I'm
always
gonna
hit.
laugh if that's the only one you don't get. That's the way parlays work for
well,
me,
Saquon
dudes.
getting a touchdown anytime could very well not hit.
Like some of the parlays I did in McCaffrey's last really good year, I guess it was actually probably not this year that just passed, the year before. I'd do a parlay where like he just needed to be an anytime touchdown scorer, and that's the only one I don't get.
I don't know what's going on with him, man. I feel like he might be, like, is he going to come back next year?
I would be.
He came back for one game and then got hurt again.
I would be so butthurt if I took him number 1 in fantasy this year.
Yeah. It's kind of rough, dude.
Yeah.
Isn't there a curse with being on, is that in football? The curse of like being on the cover of Madden or something like that?
I never heard that.
There's something like that somewhere in the league or somewhere in the sports world. I have Jalen over 40 rushing yards and the Eagles money line.
Love it. Good chances.
Plus 55 to 1. So 10, if I hit all of them, gets me 560.
Damn.
That's been my parlays all year, man. I'm talking like I'm out here hustling, but really I'm just coming within like 1 or 2 picks of winning $1,000 every week, but I'm still losing. So
Bobby get something if you win?
maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Hey, buds, go wake up your girlfriend. Why are you letting her sleep like that? That's unacceptable.
Because he's smart.
Yeah.
That's what he sees daddy do.
So good.
Are you kidding me, man?
Because he's smart.
Because he's smart. You let the women sleep. I have to call Madeline on the weekends because she has like a recurring alarm, as do I, but I set mine off so it doesn't go off on the weekends. And she just keeps hers on for every day. So during the weekends, I'm down here on the couch and I hear her alarm go off. And if I don't call her phone to like interrupt the alarm and turn it off, it'll just keep playing because she doesn't get up. I'm just like, just call it so I don't get annoyed and she doesn't wake up. That's what you do.
Love it.
Not sure when we're going to do this next. I would like to do it. What's next weekend? Next weekend is the weekend of Valentine's Day. You got any plans?
Not yet.
Are you saying that because you think Lauren's going to listen to it and you're going to spoil the surprise?
No, dude, I'm honestly not a huge Valentine's Day guy.
Does she listen? Does she listen to the show?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, Madeline doesn't.
Yeah, I don't think Lauren does either, but
Whatever.
she might.
They probably just hear
me.
us talk like this, like so fucking much. They're like, oh my fucking God.
Yeah.
Like, does that video say 2.5 hours long? Nah, dude. Nah.
That's probably exactly
Yeah. I see this guy every day I come home. I don't need 2.5 hours of him talking like this.
Ones that love us most, bud.
Yeah. Oh, God bless him. We're doing this real gay, like, it's almost like a tea party on a bus that drives around like Center City and the Art Museum. Bought the deluxe package for the bus, priority boarding, whatever. No big deal. And real pink, a lot of like doily, like fucking like Bridgerton style girly stuff. Very gay. It's a very gay thing I'm doing.
I think it's going to go real well for you, bud. That's all I'll say.
I'm going to end up loving it. I mean, I'm just saying that just to be, I don't know, just be weird about it.
Just protect your street cred a little bit.
Yeah. But I know I'm going to like it.
Yeah.
Like little finger foods and stuff. Like, I don't care what anything looks like as long as everything like tastes good. Like I'm there, whatever. So that's what I'll be doing. Hopefully on the high of a Super Bowl win. Will you be going to the parade if they win?
I'm probably going to try to head out, yeah.
I'll probably also try to go.
I didn't go to the 2019 one.
I lived there and was so fed up with like how the city was a lot of the time that I just chose to not go. I just knew it was going to be fucking madness. But I went to the Phillies parade like back when I was in high school. That was really cool.
A coworker of mine actually proactively got a hotel room in a really nice hotel in the city. I don't know where it's one of the prime places that the parade goes by. So he did this on the expected date of the parade, like weeks in advance. He's that confident that the birds are going to win.
Does the parade go down Market or Broad?
I'm not even sure. Probably Broad.
There's a bunch of the partying is done on Broad, but like a lot of the partying for like the Phillies parade and shit happened down on
Market.
like by Love Park. Yeah. Oh, we'll see. Cool. We'll see whenever we upload next. I'm not too worried about it. Super Bowl and Valentine's Day. We'll see. It's whatever.
Sounds good, brother.
Nothing else?
Nada zilch.
God bless you. We love you. We hope you heard something that helps you. Thanks for listening.
Got nothing. As always. Thank you. One of these days I'm gonna get
doing it on purpose now, dude. Now it just feels like tradition.